We are going to talk about more of Hollywood's beginnings and the dark stories. James Franco has a channel, James Franco 2319, which, according to Monsters Inc., means a monster has come in contact with children. And he is pointed to Bruce Robinson and his early start. But we're going to also talk about, today, we're going into Shirley Temple. I've been wanting to do, we did Bobby Driscoll the other day, his sad story. Now, unlike Bobby Driscoll, Shirley Temple's story has a better ending than Bobby Driscoll's. So let's get into it. And I'm going to also be going live over here on TikTok. It might be part 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Let's see how much we can get through about Shirley Temple. There we go. Because this is going to take a minute. Oh, I got some major notes here. Let's do this. James Franco, who loves classic films, and he's taught about classic Hollywood, but not the dark side. And we're going into the very dark side today when we talk about Shirley Temple. So here's for you, James Franco. Let's go into 2319. Monsters come in contact. And we're going to talk about Shirley Temple, who Hollywood treated as their very own live Betty Boop. Betty Boop's a cartoon, but we could go into that one too. She's at least not a live person, but the way Hollywood thought and portrayed Betty Boop back in that time, it's a whole nother story in itself. So we're going to go into the dark side of Shirley Temple. She started in acting when she was only 3. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, her parents put every last penny into Shirley Temple's dance classes at such a young age. And she started in her first role was in baby burlesques movies. We're going to go into that. And War Babies. These movies were a series of short films that made her the star she is. She started in this, it was toddlers, 3 years old. They were dressed in, Shirley Temple in her memoir later describes it as skimpy clothes that were extremely uncomfortable. And when she, just like Olivia, we talked about how Olivia looked back on her scenes in Romeo and Juliet and was horrified by the nudity that was shown. Later on, Shirley Temple looked back on this also with embarrassment at what Hollywood had done to her, because when Hollywood takes you in, Shirley Temple was a brand. She saved 21st Century Fox from going into bankruptcy. She was their brand. She was their girl. And they owned her image. They owned every ounce of her. And her dad was her manager. And her dad and mom lied about her age. They okayed all of these scripts, by the way. And they were there. The parents were there. What the parents wouldn't do to become millionaires and spend all of Shirley Temple's money. She only had about $44,000 in her trust when she became an adult. Because, and we're going to talk about that later too. We're going to go into, what's his name? Jackie Coogan and Coogan laws. We're going to go into that. So, they dress these toddlers in these baby burlesque series of movies as soldiers, nightclub performers, socialites, politicians, gangsters, and romantic couples. The producers were like, oh, this is harmless novelty entertainment. It's not a big deal. This went on from 1932 to 1933. They had subjects such as dating, marriage, romantic relationships, infidelity, okay, infidelity, and adult behaviors. So this crossed a huge line, what they were doing in Hollywood. This was so not cool. Let's go more into it. So the studios, they had enormous power. Like I said, they controlled every ounce of all of this. So in the first movie, War Babies, Shirley Temple played an exotic dancer at the age of 3. She played an exotic dancer. She received her first kiss on the movie. Her dad saw the script and even approved this. Okay. The dad approved this script and let her 3-year-old daughter do this. Baby Burlesque, she wore just a diaper with pins on it. This is what she wore. And she traded kisses for lollipops, and she had certain lines such as, I'm too expensive for you. Okay, a 3-year-old saying that. Okay? Imagine that. I'm very much an adult. And so it's funny when I probably say it, but it's not funny when toddlers say it. And then in Curly Top, she was full nude with glitter makeup on, and she played a Cupid at 3-4 years old. And this is what the producers controlled and did, and they wanted from toddlers. So let's go into 1934. We're in the depths of the Great Depression. Families can't afford anything. This is where hot dogs come about because they were a cheap meal to eat. Families were struggling, but middle-aged men were the major fans of Shirley Temple. And these middle-aged men and other people, no matter what, could at least scrap together some change to afford a ticket to see the newest Shirley Temple movie. To see that cute little girl with the ringlets and the blonde hair dancing and singing and being schmexy. So she had her signature ringlets, her fancy dresses, song and dance routines, sweet personality. We all think we know who Shirley Temple is. That sweet little girl, her public appearance, they controlled everything, her public appearance. Some people wonder who Shirley Temple really is because she was controlled inside and out of the studio. And if you remember about Bobby Driscoll, he was never socialized because just like Shirley Temple, he was controlled by all the adults around him. He only knew adults, producers, and that's where he was socialized. So he never learned to socialize with other children and grow up with other children in school. And all she knew was the cameras following her, the reporters following her, the pressure to be America's little darling. So as she gets older, 6 or 7 years old, she's got millions of fans by this time. She later in life said, oh, by the way, that's interesting. I wrote this down, but on this section, the drink Shirley Temple, they tried to give it to her and she did not like it. It was a non-alcoholic drink. She hated it, but she had to pretend to like it. So there was a lot of things that people were like, I don't know if we know the real Shirley Temple. And later on, as an adult, a company tried to bottle the Shirley Temple drink, and Shirley Temple sued them and won because she did not like the drink and she did not want it out there. So when you go and ask for a Shirley Temple, by the way, she doesn't approve of it, but that's just what fans and everybody did. They loved her so much. That was an interesting tidbit to find out about Shirley Temple, that she did not like this drink. Okay. We're almost done with our TikTok 10 minutes, but we'll try and get into this. So, child labor laws, they were not done at this time. And this is where we're going to talk about Jackie Coogan on another one. This is where Jackie Coogan comes in and the Coogan laws, because parents were spending their children's money before they could become an adult. That's what happened with Bobby Driscoll. Even in the 50s, they were still doing it. And Bobby Driscoll had no money to his name, even though he was making $800 a week in the 50s. Shirley Temple only got like $13 a month. That's what her parents allotted her, and then they took the rest of her money. And so that comes in later. And so child labor laws also came in later because Shirley Temple was bogged down with acting lessons, dance practice, vocal coaching, public appearance, film shoots, promotional events, all at a very young age of 7. And no schooling, no socialization, no nothing. So in a minute, we're going to get into it next video. We'll do a part 2. We're going to get into more as Shirley Temple grows up. So let me go ahead and we got to do the standard. Let's title this. Classic dark Hollywood and Shirley Temple. We have not gotten into the abuse of it all yet. Woo! We still got a wild ride to go on. So we still got a little bit of a wild ride to go on. Let's get it going. Don't fall this time. I had it fall that last time and I was like, no. Okay, don't fall. Oh, the cover on the makes it kind of fall. So let's get into it. All right, let's get in more about Shirley Temple and the control that all the adults had in her life over her at just a young age. So basically, Shirley Temple is 6, 7 years old. There's nothing but adults controlling her life. This is where we get into a little bit of the dark stuff, too. One time, she was in her dressing room, and she talks about this in her memoir. She was in her dressing room. She's just a 6-year-old little girl. I remember what it's like to be 6. This brings back trauma, by the way. Triggering. She's in her dressing room, and an executor comes in there to talk to her. And he decides to expose himself to her. And Shirley Temple, not knowing how to handle this moment in time, because you're just a child. Oh, crap. I screwed up on TikTok. Dang it. The stupid sound. Okay, let me redo this. Ugh. We're going to redo this. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay, let's get more into Shirley Temple and the dark side of what it was like working for all these adults and the executors and everything. And we're going to get into the very dark side of Shirley Temple. And some of this has been written in her memoirs. Shirley Temple, when she was around 6 years old, talks about a time that she was in her dressing room and an executor came in and was talking to her, and he exposed himself to her. This is so hard to talk about. And Shirley Temple, at the age of 6, had no idea how to handle these things. And just like any little child not knowing what to do and being a little nervous, kind of giggled and upset the executor. She would often be punished with quite a few things, her and the children on set. They would put her in solitary isolation in a room. There was a window there where the adults could just watch her. They would put her in a dark box. They would put them in it to cool the children down and their attitudes down. They would put them in a pool of ice water to stand in, or sometimes they would put them in a soundproof room and put them on a block of ice. The executors had all the power to be their parents, to be their managers, and remember, Shirley Temple's parents are there for all of this. And Shirley Temple's mom was paid to put all those ringlets in her hair. And Shirley Temple said people would pull on her ringlets, and it hurt her because she never wore wigs. She said that sometimes she wished she wore wigs because she got tired of the fans yanking her ringlets. People would write in and call in and say, how do I get these Shirley Temple ringlets? Shirley Temple said it was horrible experience. They'd put vinegar and stuff in her hair to get those to stick. It burned her hair or her head. It smelled. It was horrible experience for her. So you see that cute little girl in her dancer teen and coming down the stairs and dancing, and behind the scenes is a girl that is going through a lot of trauma to be that cute little girl on screen that you see. And to get her to cry on cue, they would tell her that her mom was kidnapped by a green-skinned, red-eyed monster that was coming for her. He's already got her mom, and the producer would just tell her these scary stories just to get her to start crying. Ugh. And then one producer, Shirley Temple, found out there was a button in his office, and she found out what that button was for. That button was to lock the door. So no matter how much she ran around the room, she couldn't get out. And it was kind of a game to the executors to chase her around the room. Like, oh. So basically, Shirley Temple, this was not an easy life. And just like Bobby Driscoll, when she turned 12, she peaked. She was no longer the little girl, that chubby little girl with ringlets that danced and sung and was cute. And she started aging out at this point. And then by the time she was 17, her cute little blonde signature hair turned brown. And that was it. The studios were done with her. She was a teenager now. They couldn't sexualize her. And her hair wasn't blonde anymore. How many of us have gone brown after being blonde their whole childhood? But if you're a star, you cannot do that. You cannot change. They want you for... This is why they like cartoons like Betty Boop. In a way, Walt Disney liked his cartoons because they never changed. They never grew up. And dealing with Shirley Temple, Bobby Driscoll, MGM, 21st Century Fox, all these guys dealing with these children, they had to deal with the eventual that they would age out. Judy Garland, when we talk about her, she's going to be a little different because she was popular in her teen years as Dorothy and all that. So she's going to be a little bit different than Shirley Temple and Bobby Driscoll, who age out at this point. But Shirley Temple somehow, through all of this trauma, never saw herself as the victim. She did get married and had a first marriage, lasted 6 years. It from the moment they said I do, it went sour, it went wrong. But eventually, Shirley Temple became Shirley Temple Black in her second marriage. She asked people, call me Shirley, call me Miss Temple, call me Miss Black, I prefer Miss Black, or just call me Shirley. But she dropped the name Shirley Temple. She did not want to be Shirley Temple anymore. It was either Miss Black, Miss Temple, or just plain Shirley. But she shedded that, became a U.S. ambassador for Ghana and Czechoslovakia. And so, unlike Bobby Driscoll and some of these others, Judy Garland will go into her. She survives into adulthood, but still traumatized. And maybe we'll get into what Liza Minnelli talks about her mother. But Shirley Temple kind of disappears from the limelight, but she succeeds as an adult, which is a rare case at this point. Oh, I feel like I didn't write down enough. But, and then we'll also, when we talk about Jackie Coogan, we're going to go into how they limit work hours, school requirements, welfare workers on studios, and additional oversight for minors. However, this does not last long because we know Nickelodeon. Like, it makes me sick every time you see what's her name in the hot tub with Dan Schneider. Gosh, that one that's, ugh, what's her name? Oh, it's so disgusting. Even though they're fully clothed, the way they're acting in the hot tub, like, you know, Dan Schneider's not a good guy. The way they're, and so even though they're supposed to have these new laws that we're gonna go over in Coogan's story, they don't stick to them. Nickelodeon wrecks lives, okay? We're going to get into eventually Nickelodeon wrecking lives after we go through a few more classic stars. James Franco has always loved classic stars, have always taught about classic movies. Who does not like a good classic movie? You know, everybody talks about Citizen Kane and all of that, and Gone with the Wind and Dancing in the Rain. And but we're also going to get into, there are some sad stories for adults too in Hollywood. There's very dark, sick stories about childhood, but we could talk about, is it the, who is it that he was a gay actor and he had to hide it because in the 50s that was improper. I'm going to look this up, and we're going to go into all of this. And then there's children that are born to these stars and they had to hide it. And Sean Astin had like possibility of 3 fathers, and one of them, he took on the name Astin from the guy who played Gomez Adams. Like, this all gets crazy. The classic world of Hollywood. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Shirley Temple I went over. I feel like I didn't write enough down. I feel like I wrote a lot, and then I feel like I didn't write enough. I'm like, maybe I didn't write enough, but you know what? That's enough dark stuff, though. The fact that she started out in baby burlesque, we should all be angry of. These classic executors and producers. But thank you guys for watching. Love you guys. Let's bring this to light. This is just, oh. So, 19. Let's see, Shirley Temple. Let's see, Shirley Temple. So there we go. There's my short series on Shirley Temple and the dark history of Shirley Temple. It's like, hopefully this is what James Franco was looking for. It's hard to guess what he is looking for in 2319. Like I said, I do want to try and watch the movie with Nail and I. But with Nail and I, we do know it's about two actors struggling in the business. And we know that James Franco is struggling right now. We know that James Franco is on his way to be ousted, and he's trying to apologize and set the record straight. And like I said, that his co-star even said that Hollywood has been influencing him and he's had some bad behavior. Maybe we'll get into Seth Rogen, because Seth Rogen has turned on James Franco. But Seth Rogen is not a good guy either, though. Like, Coffee and Crime gets into Seth Rogen, because Seth Rogen isn't a great person. So who's he to push away James Franco when he's on Coffee and Crime? If you're on Coffee and Crime's list, she's got some dark stuff on you. No, it's Coffee and Colts. Sorry. Coffee and Colts. If you're on Coffee and Colts list, you got some dark stuff in your past or current history, and you don't want to be on Coffee and Colts podcast and list, because she's going to break out your dark history. And so Seth Rogen's on there. Unfortunately, James Franco's on there, but he's not as bad as her mortal enemy Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson and Chris Masterson. The Masterson family is kind of a dark Scientology story in its own. So let me know what you guys want me to go into. I'm planning on doing Jackie Coogan, Judy Garland, and looking into any other Hollywood child stars that were icons, that we counted as icons, but the darkness behind the Amanda Bynes, that's her name. Okay. Amanda Bynes and Dan Schneider in a hot tub makes me sick every time I see that. She was only a teen, and I know she was dressed, but still, even though she's fully dressed, she should not be in a hot tub with Dan Schneider. Okay. Like, I just cannot do that. I bet she couldn't. Like, she's in there just laughing on the interview the whole time, but you know, sometimes when women laugh, it's because they're uncomfortable. They're in an uncomfortable situation, and they're forced to be in this uncomfortable situation. And so I wouldn't exactly take... I didn't mean to click on that. I wouldn't exactly take her laughing in the interview as she's enjoying herself. I wouldn't do that. Oh, my hair fell out of his bun, and I did the whole like 2 pigtails, and then you tie them together to make a bun, and it fell out. So I left it out, because you just like bun it up. As you go, woo! So, got 2 very long pigtails. My mom, I've worn extensions in the past, and she's like, I don't know when it's your real hair or not. I'm like, no, this is all me nowadays. I don't do extensions anymore. My wigs are put away on the side. I can't wear wigs because I don't know how to bind my hair up. And because the wig won't sit on this long of a hair, you can't just put a little bun back here. I got to figure out how to like set it so that the wig will sit on top of it. I gotta probably do like a wide bun like this or something, a wide flat bun. And I need a new hairnet. Boy. There we go. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoy that. I don't know what else to say besides let me know what you want me to talk about. Let's keep digging into dark Hollywood. I will look up some of these actors' names. It's like because I'm getting older, all this information in my head slips at times. It's like I knew this actor's name. I don't know if it was the Superman guy. The guy who played Superman in the 50s? Or what? I'm just going to have to look these up now because I just can't remember their names. I can't remember their names. How? But there's just so much dark history of Hollywood controlling everybody's image and their personality and everything that they are and their love life. If two married stars worked together and had an affair, they couldn't just get a divorce and then be together. And back then, birth control wasn't like a big thing, and babies happened from this. And stars, like, there's just so much darkness all over Hollywood that they controlled. And then we enjoyed the movies. We sat back, we enjoyed the movies, we worshiped the actors, we worshiped the stars, we worshiped the companies. Every kid loved Nickelodeon. And then you find out what Amanda Bynes went through, what's her name that was on Carly and I or something like that. iCarly as Sam, who her mother even, and they were LDS, and so this puts a bad light on LDS people and that they abuse their children. And I can't deny that, but I can't talk about that either on my stream because I don't know who watches my stream. Talked about it enough on my Facebooks in the past and gotten myself in trouble for telling the truth about abuse, breaking out abuse in the LDS families and churches, and people hate me for it. And so I don't know. I don't care anymore, and I quit telling the truth, and I just hide it now. And you hide the abuse because if you break out the abuse, the abusers, first of all, call you the liar. They point the finger at you. They get everybody angry at you so that they can hide the abuse that they did. And they get you shunned. And everybody's like, oh, great, good. I don't want to be around that person. They're horrible. They're toxic. They're bad. And it's like, no, I'm not the toxic one. I'm just the one that's speaking the honest truth. The mental, the physical abuse, the psychological abuse they put you through, the conditional love, then there's not unconditional love. It's conditional that you follow everything. And I talk about 10 years ago when I started streaming, I talked about the psychology of Myers-Briggs personality type and what personality type actually is very psychologically abusive and will do this. And I hate that personality type with a passion. And the funniest comment I ever got when I made a video on it is somebody said, I hate you. You spoke the truth, but I hate you for it. And I was like, well, thank you. That's good. You hate me for speaking the truth? Great, thanks. I mean, get used to being hated for speaking the truth. James Franco right now is at the point where he's like, I want to tell the truth. I want to get the truth out. You guys get the truth out. I'm going to give you the clues. You guys got to pick these up. You guys got to get the truth out. Because if I tell the truth, if I disappear, you know who did it. Because I gave you the clues. I told you about it. I gave you the clues. I disappeared and you did it. We got a lot of people disappearing lately. We got people disappearing from NASA. We got scientists disappearing. We got actors being, their eyes go dead, their skull changes, like, oh my gosh, like their fingers grow longer, they look demonic, alien, demonic, I don't know. We have that movie that just came out, Disclosure Day, like talking about aliens hiding right there in the plainest of sight. Are they right there? Because Olivia Rivo's fingers, when she's like, people are like, they can literally see them grow, and she's like, and she's reaching out like Dracula, and her fingers are getting longer as she reaches out. And so we're seeing people kind of disappear. Sound like somebody was making noise at my door. Anyways, I guess I'll go and we'll talk more later. We're going to dive into dark Hollywood. I'm going to dive into the darkness and bring it to light. And that's what I want to do, is bring the darkness to light, and everybody bring all these forgotten stars like Shirley Temple, Bobby Driscoll, Jackie Coogan, Judy Garland, bring it all back, and remember where that Hollywood never started out as a noble organization. Disney did not. Our history worships Walt Disney, who is not a good man. Bobby Driscoll was his boy until his boy got acne. And then he wasn't his boy anymore, because when he got acne and his voice changed with puberty, he lost his boy. Nobody would really treat their real child that way. But Disney only pampered when you were making them money. And Bobby Driscoll was no longer making them money. So anyways, we're going to go into this darkness, and I appreciate James Franco for coming out with this 2319 and being bold enough to say there's something out there that you guys need to explore for me, and please do it. So I hope I'm going the right direction. I'm waiting for James Franco to answer me. No, I was kidding. It's like, James, am I doing it right? So I'll talk to you guys later. I'll make another video tomorrow. I'm trying to make these often. We probably have a lot more to go over than I realize. So I will keep looking this up, because we got a lot to look over. I'm just naming a few stars.